Hello and welcome back to From the Top Rope, featuring Robbie Fox and Jared Carrabis, presented by My Mom's Basement, Barstool Sports, whatever. But come on, this is From the Top Rope. When we're together in the basement, it's From the Top Rope. And it's been a while since our last episode. Jared and I were talking. We were saying, we probably should have done an episode when the Wyatt Sicks debuted or when this happened, when that happened. We said, all right, Money in the Bank is a good place to say we're on the road to SummerSlam. We got stuff to preview. We got stuff to recap. How are we feeling, Jared?
I gotta say, Bob, as a baseball guy, I've got to experience a lot of cool things in my career, things that I don't deserve. Bobblehead nights, World Series parades, World Series ring ceremonies. But last Monday, I got name dropped on Monday Night Raw. And I think not even like my inner child, like my current being, my current state of self, it had to be like a top 3 like moment of excitement for me. Like that's like what you dream about, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna grow up to be a professional wrestler by any means, but that's what I wanted to do. Like before I wanted to play in Major League Baseball, I wanted to be in the WWE. I wrote a whole book on it when I was in 5th grade. So to have my name said on the Raw broadcast when they're in Boston, I don't know. I don't know that I can top that. I don't know.
Well, it's funny that it happened in Boston too. Obviously it makes sense. The reference came because they were in Boston, but you were there. So you didn't get to hear it live. Did your phone just start blowing up when it happened?
Yes. And Corey, so it was Corey Graves that said it, but he didn't say my last name. He just said Jared, but it was enough. Like he was talking about like Liv Morgan throw out the first pitch at Fenway. And he said, yeah, my buddy Jared's already trying to sign her up for the Red Sox. So everyone, like immediately I like million text messages. People were like sending me videos of their TVs. So I got to like listen to it while I was at Raw. But yeah, very cool moment. I texted him immediately. Like he was still on the broadcast and he responded back. I was like, dude, I totally that. So yeah.
That was awesome. Do you have the clip? Can you play the clip or pull it up while we're doing this podcast? Because it is a monumental moment for the From the Top Rope boys. One of us was mentioned on Monday Night Raw. We got to play it.
I feel like
it's not the first time he's given a little shout out either. Remember years back, he was talking about Mojo Rawley, and he was like, Mojo is probably wasting time trying to get videos posted on Barstool Sports.
Yeah.
He gave a little, slipped it in there.
Yeah, here it is.
Champion was busy yesterday. He got the first pitch over at Fenway Park for the Red Sox. Bring a little Liv Morgan magic to the Red Sox, leading the Sox to a 4-1 win as she threw out the ceremonial first pitch in the iconic confines of one of the greatest stadiums in baseball. Well, Red Sox will go on to be Dirty Dom's favorite team, the City of the Padres. Sure, and I talked to my good friend Jared, who's already petitioning the Red Sox to sign Liv Morgan full-time because she could be their good luck charm. And Liv couldn't help but take a shot at Rhea Ripley.
Pretty cool, Bob. Pretty cool.
Pretty fucking cool. Pretty fucking cool. Shout out Corey Graves. It's very cool of him to slip you in there.
Yeah. And he's a huge baseball fan. So like that's like, for
I didn't know that.
He's a Pirates. So we talk about Paul Skeens, Jared Jones, like that. Any person in professional wrestling that I have a relationship with is because they're a baseball fan. Like no one gives a fuck beyond that. Like it's like Punk loves the Cubs and horror movies. So we connect on that. Big Cass loves the Yankees. Big Bill. He loves the Yankees. So we always talk about the Yankees, Red Sox. And then Corey Graves, huge Pittsburgh Pirates fan.
Yeah. Also, speaking of the Pirates, if you hear any screaming in the background of this podcast, the Pirates are currently beating the Mets. Frank the Tank obviously not happy about that.
Yeah.
Screaming his head off, screaming his absolute head off over there. But before we get into the road to SummerSlam, Money in the Bank, the wrestling stuff we're going to recap that just happened recently, I want to go back a little further because if you're a longtime From the Top Rope fan or just a longtime Jared Carrabis fan, you know he is one of the biggest Bray Wyatt fans out there. Always has been since Bray debuted in an Inferno match against Kane. Your guy was like
Ring of Fire match,
obviously, or Ring of Fire that they ended with the fucking fireproof blanket. That was so strange. But the Wyatt Sicks finally debuted and had an amazing debut, in my opinion. You know, the end of Raw where they fucking killed half the roster. Chad Gable sitting there dead, gunshot in his head. What did you think of the Wyatt Sicks finally, being a thing that they can go forward with?
So it was very funny. I was in Arizona for the MLB Draft Combine with MLB Network. So I'm in my hotel room, and because I knew, like, everyone kept saying that the Wyatt Sicks was going to debut on this Raw. So normally I'd be home and I've got the 9 TV setup, but I'm in a hotel room. So I've got the Red Sox on my laptop. The Celtics were in the NBA Finals. They were about to clinch the title. That was on the TV. And then I had Raw on my phone, I think, or some combination of that. So as the Celtics are clinching, the Wyatt Sicks are debuting. It's happening at the same time. There's 20 seconds left in the fourth quarter, and we're starting to see like the lights go out. It's like, and the Celtics are like 3, 2. So I mean, not that I give a complete fuck. Like, it was just, you want to see that moment. But I was so drawn in, just captivated by it in real time, because for me, like, for those of us who watched the Bray Wyatt documentary and we saw the ending of it with Taylor, Bo Dallas, basically telling you, like, hey, by the way, I know that, like, Bray Wyatt, Wyndham Rotunda passed away, but Uncle Howdy's not dead. Just letting you know that. So right at the end of that documentary, which we finally get to see, like, Taylor Rotunda, wrestling fans haven't been introduced to him. It's always just been like Bo Dallas and these goofy characters. So some of the, I guess, hesitance to think that this could work was taken away, right? Because if we just have the last image of Bo Dallas as the last that we really saw of him, and we didn't have the Bray, we didn't have the Bray documentary to see, like, oh, like, he does, like, he can have this dark side to him. I think a lot of us maybe would have had some hesitancy to believe that he could pull this off. But he kind of had it's not a heel turn. It's more just like a darkness turn in the Bray Wyatt doc. And that leads into the Wyatt Sicks debut. Very cool how, like, detailed it was in terms of, he was only wearing one glove. It's not the hurt heel, but it said Bray, but it was on the hurt hand.
Yeah.
So there's that. It was almost like Uncle Howdy's mask was a variation of the mask that Bray was wearing when he first came back in, what was that, December of 22, when he returned for the first time after getting released. It was like a modified Uncle Howdy mask that was similar to Bray's mask at that time. I think for me, so I've described this, I think, talking about Roman, but when you're a fan of a professional wrestler, it's like a sports team. Like, you're with them through the good times and the bad. That's how I view it. But I think a majority of wrestling fans watch the WWE product and they just consume it all, and, like, they boo the bad guy and they cheer the good guy. So I think if you're just one of those wrestling fans that's consuming all of it as if it's all on the same playing field, then I could see why you would be like, all right, yeah, the Wyatt Sicks, I don't know if this is going to work. And then you hear all the old timer professional wrestlers who have their podcasts and their radio shows being like, I don't think you can just take a group of cast off wrestlers and put them all together and have it be this top faction. It just doesn't work like that. So far, I disagree. I mean, I feel like we're just scratching the surface of what it's going to become. And last Monday night when they were in Boston, my big question was, okay, the week prior, we see Uncle Howdy is interviewing Bo Dallas. And I was like, tonight, as in last Monday, we are going to figure out, are they going to do this for all the characters? Like, is Nikki Cross going to interview, like, Sister Abigail and so forth? But it wasn't. It was just a continuation of Bo Dallas having a therapy session with Uncle Howdy. And then at the end, we see the two come together and they are one, and they were in the Firefly Funhouse at the time. So the storytelling is great, but because we've only seen the therapy session with just Bo Dallas, there are so many different avenues to go down with this. It's the Wyatt Sicks, but it's like, is Bray Wyatt the sixth member? Are they leaving that spot open? Is it Alexa Bliss, who's said to be coming back? Is Braun Strowman is still kind of just like the big guy that's floating around that has like no real direction? He doesn't have anything like, is he gonna get in the mix? I don't know, but I'm very, very intrigued. And so far, Bo Dallas, Taylor Rotunda has exceeded my expectations in terms of how he has presented this character to this point.
Definitely. I think big credit goes to, I don't know his actual name, but the guy who did all of Bray's masks, and he's like the horror movie guy. All of their outfits look amazing. Like Nikki Cross, seeing her first for the debut, and you see those like black eyes, was like, holy fuck, she looked like the girl from The Ring coming out. Then you get the vulture on the top. It like he's sitting, you know, like a vulture on the crow, like perched over. All of their masks I thought were awesome. Rowan, seeing him in that new outfit and the new fucking, he still got the sledgehammer and stuff. I thought that was great. I actually liked the interviews with Uncle Howdy and Bo even better than the debut.
Me too.
There is part of me that's like, I go in with a little trepidatious because it's hard to book characters like this when you actually have to make them wrestle. Like that was my issue with a lot of Bray's career. It was none of his fault, really. It was just the way he was booked. They kept putting themselves in corners with him where it was like, fuck, like he probably should have beat Cena at WrestleMania 30. He probably should have not have lost like the next 7 matches to Cena and Last Man Standing and I Quit and this, that, the next thing. He probably shouldn't have kicked out of 100 curb stomps. And then you set him up for like him and Goldberg, and they made a lot of weird mistakes. I'm hoping those were all Vince mistakes. I think a lot of them probably were.
Yeah.
And Triple H probably knows how to book spooky characters like this better. And it's a slow burn. Like you don't need to see Uncle Howdy wrestle a lot. If we see him wrestle a couple times a year, I think that's fine. And, you know, his lackeys can do the rest of the work. It is interesting to see where they choose to put him and where they choose to hold him back. Like I thought for sure we'll have a spot at Money in the Bank with him, but just nothing.
Me too. Yeah.
Which it keeps it unpredictable. Like legitimately, you don't know if they're going to show up or not.
Yeah. And the whole thing with that too, in terms of like the booking and the whole wrestling part, my guess would be that maybe not Uncle Howdy, but the rest of them, they can't wrestle in those masks, right? Like it's almost like how like Braun Strowman would like take off the black sheep mask. It's like you're gonna wear it in the promos, but you're gonna take it off when it's time to wrestle. Like Dexter Lumis can't wrestle in that fucking bird mask.
It's like a fucking Slipknot, like Corey Taylor's old, you know,
dreads. Yeah, it's like you can't wrestle in those. So I think that's probably like Uncle Howdy can wrestle in his mask for sure, and he has not had like a sanctioned match, but like he's done wrestling spots. Like he gave Bray the Sister Abigail one time.
Yeah.
But that's my guess. Is that Frank screaming right now?
Screaming.
That
is, yeah.
But yeah, I think that's probably the move, right? Like they're gonna take their masks off to wrestle because what Triple H has done a great job of is acknowledge that fans are smart now, and even though they all debuted masked, every fan knows who they are unmasked, and they know their names and what they look like. So I think it's fine if to make it look less. Jesus, Frank. If it
make it soundproof room.
That's crazy. Less hokey, I guess. It would be less hokey if they wrestled without the masks on, but they did everything else with it on. That's fine.
Yeah. And I think even doing the Bo Dallas like interview was them being like, and by the way, we're not trying to hide, like this is the guy you remember. And it makes sense because everyone, like you said, they know that wrestling fans are smarter. Everyone watched that documentary, or at the very least saw all of the advertisements for it, which featured him and stuff. And the fact that this is Bray's brother and Bray's group of friends and misfits, if you want to call them that are carrying on his legacy is so cool. It's also a little bit like hard for them to be heels. I get that they're fucking murdering people, but it's hard not to root for the real life story behind that. And even like you see the picture of them after their debut at like In-N-Out Burger or something,
Yeah.
Whataburger. Yeah, they were just like
Yeah.
all together. Like that's funny shit. And I love the name. I love the look so far. I feel like so far, so good with the Wyatt Sicks. I have nothing I could point to where I'm like, I don't like that about them.
Yeah. And I like that they also did that sort of interview thing with Bo and Uncle Howdy, because it's like, we know that this is Bo
Yep.
Dallas. Like, we're not
Yeah.
trying to be like, oh, who's under the mask? Who's Uncle Howdy? And
Yeah.
what I also love about it is there were like when we're talking about Bray Wyatt and The Undertaker, you have these supernatural characters. With the Wyatt Sicks, it's like, yeah, there's an element, I guess, of supernatural to it. But when you have Bo Dallas being interviewed by Uncle Howdy, and then by the end of the video, it shows that it is just one person talking to himself and it's a split personality. Like, Uncle Howdy is to Bo Dallas as the Fiend was to Bray Wyatt. Then it kind of just, it's not supernatural. It's like psychological, and
I like that better too.
way better. Way better. I would rather have like the psychological twist, because then you still have that realness to it versus, I can summon the spirits of the night to take your soul. And it's like, that doesn't work for me in 2024, brother.
I was talking to somebody about that recently where it was like Undertaker, he did supernatural stuff in promos a lot. He would have fucking lightning strike on the ramp or something like that, but he wasn't necessarily winning matches like that. Whereas Bray had like the hologram pop up, and Bray had the little kid, make Cena lose that steel cage match. And some of that stuff where, again, I felt like it wasn't necessarily Bray's fault, but there were so many of these like endings to matches, the bugs in the ring at WrestleMania, or Alexa having the black goo, where it was just like, like you said, a little hokey. Like that's how it feels when it's psychological. It's like, ooh, like those fucking Uncle Howdy interviews had some great writing where I was like, oh, I didn't know they had like writers on staff that could like weave lines like that. And maybe Bo's helping. I would assume he has big creative control, and especially that it's his brother's thing. I feel like you have to give that to him. But yeah, good stuff with the Wyatt Sicks so far. Another faction that you are, I would say, the representative of on this podcast is the Bloodline.
Correct.
And since we last did a podcast, Solo has completely taken over. It's like a hostile takeover of the Bloodline. Paul Heyman has been attacked, kicked out of the Bloodline because he wouldn't acknowledge him as tribal chief. What are your thoughts on the direction they've gone with the Bloodline storyline?
Because I hate them this much. Like, I love Jacob Fatu. But outside of that, it's just little brother. Like, it's not, like it doesn't give off, and maybe it's not supposed to, but it's not giving off like the rise of a new empire where it's like, oh fuck, when Roman comes back, how is he ever gonna stop these guys? It's more like, all right, dude, like I can see what you're trying to do, but when daddy comes home, then you're in big trouble. Like, that's how I feel. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm a Roman Bobo, and I feel like this Bloodline, well, because what they were trying to say on the broadcast for Money in the Bank was, the OG Bloodline, like they were brutal, but they had guidelines. Like they had their own rules, but they stuck to the rules. Like they had a code of conduct. And this Bloodline, like there's no rules, and no one is safe. So they're trying to make this Bloodline seem more dangerous than the Roman one, but it's like, are they? Like Roman,
I know.
It's like Solo is never gonna have the upper hand over Roman. It's just not gonna happen. So we're all just waiting for Roman to come back to reclaim the throne, which he obviously is gonna do. He's gonna be a massive babyface. It's gonna be great because I'm gonna be. It's what I've been waiting for 15 years, however many years it's been. But yeah, I think they're doing a good job being like the annoying little brother that thinks that he's the big brother now.
Yeah, they're placeholders. It feels like you're not their guy. You're just the guy because Roman isn't here. I go back and forth on Solo, and I don't know how much of it is his fault. Again, like going back to the booking, there's that meme where he was like 0-34 before they started this run. And
including
maybe
house
it's
shows.
just hard including house shows, but it's like, it's hard for me to watch him now be the tribal chief. And he just doesn't give off the aura. He's not putting on the best matches. I don't think he's a bad wrestler. But when you put him in there with,
You can't cut a
he's got
promo.
Tonga Loa and it's him, and Jacob Fatu, like you said, is awesome. And we saw a little bit of him getting to showcase the stuff he could do, whisper in the wind and crazy shit that you wouldn't expect someone his size to be able to do. But they're not completely doing it for me right now, this new bloodline. Like, even the main event of Money in the Bank ending the way it did, it didn't feel like when Roman would win a main event, it was a little deflating if you wanted the guy he was facing to win or whatever. But like, it was like, oh, he's still the fucking guy. He's still on top. When they won at Money in the Bank, it felt like all the air was sucked out of the arena. And it was like, oh, fuck, that's it. Like, that's the whole thing. And the match was also thrown off course because I think Loa got knocked out on the suicide dive and then fucked up the low blow. And
Yeah, he punched his brother in the fucking head trying to do a low
that
blow.
angle was so funny. That angle was
Crazy.
hysterical. It wasn't a bad main event, and I felt like even putting them in that main event spot with Orton and KO and Cody, like, it rises them to a level, but they could only do so much to rise them to that level where they just don't feel like Roman has that final boss aura. Solo is so far from the final boss aura. I don't know how you could get him there in time. And like you said, they're trying to make him more brutal. They did that like attack on Kevin Owens where they had him all bloodied and shit.
Yeah.
But that didn't feel more brutal than them handcuffing Sammy and KO at the Royal Rumble and just hitting him with chairs a couple times. Like, I don't know if you need more story or what. The Heyman segment was amazing. That was the best thing they've done yet, where Heyman got that crazy pop at MSG for being like, I do not acknowledge you. And that made me realize, like, Roman might get the biggest pop of all time when he comes back as a baby face. Like, holy fuck, that's going to be awesome. Do you think he comes back as soon as SummerSlam? It looks like Solo and Cody is probably going to be the direction for SummerSlam.
Yeah, I don't know that I don't think he comes back at SummerSlam now. Like, I'm trying to see the path, and why would he interfere? Like, it's almost like when people were saying, "Oh, will Roman come back at Money in the Bank?" And I was like, "Money in the Bank is beneath Roman." And I'm not saying that SummerSlam is beneath Roman, but Cody versus Solo is kind of beneath. Like, what's the motivation for Roman Reigns to want to step in between Solo Sikoa and Cody Rhodes having a match together?
I don't think he steps in between them. If that were the case, you could spin the motivation of like, why are you going for my title? That's still my title. But I would picture Cody winning in the main event, Solo, Jacob, and Tonga Loa beating the shit out of Cody, and then like maybe cutting a promo, acknowledge your tribal chief. Roman's music hits, and Heyman right behind him walking down like, oh, you guys fucked up.
Like
you do
when
a big
Paul
face
Bearer
off.
came back with Kane. Remember
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, like something like that. You do a big face off, and then you can build to a Bloodline War Games in November. It gives them a couple months to build to that point, and you probably don't even see Roman wrestle till then. But I would love to see him getting the band back together, getting the Usos, maybe even having Sammy as his like fourth person.
Yep.
That would be incredible.
I'm very surprised that Jimmy was not involved in this main event and Money in the Bank. Why wouldn't you use this opportunity to bring back Jimmy to even the 4-on-4?
True. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe just because it was like they didn't want to even it up. They wanted the heroes to be at a disadvantage or whatever. But I don't know. And shout out Kevin Owens working the SmackDown and Money in the Bank while his mom was in the hospital. Cut an awesome promo on SmackDown where he talked about all of that and got the crowd to rally behind him. Then he got to perform like in Canada. Place was going nuts for him. He got that big moment, the big splash through the announcer table. That was the best part of the match, I thought, was when they were on the outside. The entire portion on the outside was like fucking, it felt like a war. That was pretty good. Yeah. I thought Money in the Bank was a good show overall. Some tweets I got afterwards that were like, Bob, that show stunk. I don't know if it was just like the finish put a bad taste in their mouth. I thought the show was very enjoyable.
I liked it. I mean, I didn't I did not like. It wasn't a bad show. It was a safe show.
Yeah,
I
it
think
was a little safe.
from where I'm sitting, not getting the Wyatt Sicks, like how do you not have them further their storyline by like costing Chad Gable, or because now like in Wyatt Sicks brain world for me, I they keep teasing that they want to go after Jay, and it would make sense if they did, right? Because it's like, are they baby faces or are they heels? Well, they're neither. They're going after people who abandoned their families.
Yeah.
And Chad Gable did that, so they're going after him. But technically, Jay did the same thing. Like Jay abandoned his family, so Annie has the Fireflies, and they do seem to come out when he's around. Like
True.
I'm pretty sure his debut and this past Monday, he's like they're coming for Chad Gable, but like Jay is always somewhere close by. Um, but I don't think that you can. I don't think that you can have a Wyatt Sicks Jey Uso crossover when Roman's return is so close and you've got War
Yeah.
Games and you're gonna need to have the original Bloodline reunite for this.
There's a few storylines like that going on right now where I feel like they're buying time. Like even to like go further with the Money in the Bank talk, Drew wins the Money in the Bank ladder match, which I thought was good. I didn't think it was like it didn't blow me away. Some years you're like, holy fuck, that was insane. That was a good match and respect everyone for fucking taking crazy bumps, but I thought it was fine. Drew wins, he cashes in immediately. And that whole match, I was thinking, like, you're buying time. You need to get to Drew and Punk at SummerSlam. Gunther also already has the title shot. You're not going to take the title off Priest and then put it on Gunther. I think they're going to put the title on Gunther at SummerSlam, but you're not going to do that so quick. And then they fuck up that pinfall spot, which was, I didn't see it in real time. It was the first thing I saw from Money in the Bank, but it's tough. He gets hit with, I think it was like a Falcon Arrow, 1, 2, and the ref just has to stop the count because Priest doesn't kick out. Drew cashes in mid-match. CM Punk once again costs him. Priest is in a tough spot, not only because of the botch, but just like this whole title run feels like a bit of a placeholder. Like people said, you're going to be a transitional champ. And I don't know if I would call him a transitional champ, but like that's sort of what he feels like,
He
right?
has
Like
been. Yeah. I think Drew's
he's
music was supposed to hit, though. I don't think it was like he forgot to kick out. I think Drew's music was supposed to hit and the ref was supposed to stop counting.
That would make a whole lot of sense. And timing wise, it would line up. Triple H seemed to imply at the post presser that Priest was like maybe a little fucked up though. So maybe he was banged up. He didn't hear like the 1 count or something, and he just thought he was late for it. I felt bad because you could tell afterwards he was pissed at himself. He knew that botch was fucked. And he's been pretty fucking good as champ. Some people said, oh, look, he's botching again. And they posted the clip of him slipping on the ropes at the last pay-per-view.
Yeah.
The ropes were fucked up for everyone at the last pay-per-view. So I think that was on someone else other than him. But yeah, it's weird. I saw so many rumors. I'm sure you saw the same about AJ Lee being the one to return at Money in the Bank. People were teasing it. Big E even like teased it on the pre-show. And
Well, she was there.
now, I saw people talking about it like it was a sure thing, and I got myself convinced in my head, like, oh my God, if AJ is the one to distract or ruin this for Drew instead of Punk, and that's his little, like, I'm still here, like, that would have been so fucking good. I want it to happen now. I want it to be a thing. And I'm like, maybe them mentioning AJ and doing little things like that is like when they were mentioning Punk before they were even in contact with him. And Punk was kind of like, that seems like too on the nose to be coincidence, right? Maybe they're just trying to get her back for even a small spot like that or a Rumble appearance, something like that. We've talked about it on From the Top Rope, but I want her to kind of get her due in this generation because she did as much as anybody for the women's revolution, if you want to call it that. It began with AJ in that moment.
And she was herself. Like, that's why she was great, was because you can see, like, even now there's some of these, like, the women wrestlers that are, I don't want to say cookie cutter, but it's a gimmick that isn't them. Whereas AJ was AJ, and that's why she was awesome. Like, it was very authentic and it came across that way. Yeah, I would love to see her back.
They're still doing a good job with Punk and Drew, though. I know they're basically doing the same thing at every pay-per-view, but I feel like it's still hitting at every pay-per-view. I'm not tired of seeing Punk come out and ruin it for Drew, and Drew freak out. His freak out on the post show where he's shoving Adam Pearce and Wade Barrett had to fucking hold him back and shit. I thought that was all really good. And I'm really excited for this match at SummerSlam. This is the kind of SummerSlam where it's not 2 nights this year. It'll be 2 nights in the future. But I look at this and I'm like, oh, this could totally be like a night 1 SummerSlam main event and people would love it.
Yeah. I mean, they have to have, I mean, now that it's so personal, they have to have some sort of stipulation. It can't just be a regular match.
Not Hell in a Cell, though. You saw Punk answer that at the last press conference when someone was like, I think it should be a Hell in a Cell first match. He was like, pfft. He's like eating his cookies, like, first match. I'm glad you're not booking wrestling shows.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's
good.
got to be something that's just like not a standard wrestling match.
He seemed like, I know he didn't announce like I'm cleared, I'm ready to go, but he seems so active at Money in the Bank. I have to imagine he is cleared, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's been 7 months.
Yeah.
Like, how long does it take for a torn tricep? I'm going to Google it right now. How long does a torn tricep take to heal? Well, that's very vague. 8 to 12 weeks. Complete tear? No, that's a partial tear. It was a complete tear. So it says several months.
There was a clip of him telling Cena about it backstage, and he said it's healing way faster than the last one, which I think he mentioned to someone else as well. And in an interview, I couldn't tell if it was like a dig at AEW because he was like, oh yeah, like when you have real doctors, like it's amazing how fast injuries like this heal.
Right.
Like, look at that. CM Punk talking glowingly about WWE's medical staff. You never thought you would see the day.
Full circle. Yeah, this says about 6 months. So we're basically at 7-ish.
It'd be great to have him come back at SummerSlam too. It'll be his first singles match back in the WWE, which is crazy, other than the house show match against Dom. But speaking of John Cena, we also got John Cena at Money in the Bank, and he came out to announce his retirement. And well, he announced his retirement tour. He wasn't like, I'm retired. He kind of did say like, I'm here to announce my retirement from the WWE. And I think everyone's like, wait, you're done? You wrestled your last match? But no, he's going on a long retirement tour that will extend through 2025. This year's WrestleMania is going to be his last WrestleMania, but he made it clear, like, it's not my last match. He has said in the past he wanted to retire in the UK. He said like the O2 in London was like his favorite audience to perform in front of. So maybe that's still the plan. He wants to work like 30 to 45 shows, which could be, someone said 75% of like the Monday Night Raws. And he even teased going for the 17th title, which I'm such a Cena mark that I'm like, I want that to be a storyline in his last year. I would like him to break Ric Flair's record. Like, I don't have an allegiance to that. Like, I'm holding on to Ric Flair's 16. And in my head, I'm like, if you're WWE, who knows what's going to come out about Ric Flair in the future? Already a lot has come out about him. You probably want Cena at the top of your record books. So I don't know if they'll have him win the WWE title, but I could see him winning the world heavyweight title and, you know, going through this retirement tour where he puts a ton of new guys over, I'm sure, but I don't really want to see that. Like, we saw the match with Theory at WrestleMania. That was just like, I want to see him against Orton and Punk and Kevin Owens and AJ Styles. Go through the greatest hits of Cena's Rogues Gallery and give us the fucking serious Cena promos. Give us the promos where he's, I don't know, give us a Doctor of Thugonomics rap one more time. Like, I want this to be nostalgia filled, and I think it will be too. I don't know who his WrestleMania opponent will be. Like, obviously, he's such a Kevin Owens guy that I think Kevin Owens would give him the best match, but Orton would be the best story.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure Cena said it was like his dream match was to WrestleMania, like main event WrestleMania with Randy Orton.
I wouldn't be opposed to that. Like, do you think some people would be annoyed? I know so many years that was the like, are you fucking kidding me, Cena and Orton again? But it's been like over 10 years. I think their last rivalry was in like 2013-ish. Yeah.
It was when they
like the unification,
had, like, the big gold belt. Yeah.
And honestly, people were shitting on that at the time. They put on some good matches. They had a Hell in a Cell match around that time that was very good. And people were like, you know, they weren't even paying attention when it started because they were like, we're not watching this again. Go back. It's like Cena versus Orton, Hell in a Cell 2013 or 14. Fantastic stuff. And like when you use your brain, yeah, it's hard for them to have a bad match at this point because both of them are like so used to wrestling each other. They know how to go through the motions. I was there for their first pay-per-view match, actually, SummerSlam 07.
Oh, wow. How fucking old
Great
were you?
match. I would have been 9.
Jesus.
Just turned 9. Yeah.
I'm graduating high school, Bob. I would love to have another run with Punk. I mean, that was obviously like that's my favorite CM Punk feud was Cena, and I'm not even really that big of a Cena guy, but it was the best Punk work was when he was feuding with Cena. Would love to see that one, and then getting a Mania match with Randy Orton. I mean, if we, it would be very cool if it was like we'd have to get him back from AEW, but a fatal 4-way WrestleMania main event, John Cena versus CM Punk versus Randy Orton versus Edge. And it would just be like all of the play the hit. Yeah.
That's like Batman going into Arkham Asylum and all of the prison doors opening at the same time.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, here we go. I mean, you're not a big Cena guy. WrestleMania 29 here. I not only had a sign with John Cena on it that said our time is now. I know you were. I had a sign that said our time is now. I also had a huge sign that my sister did for me. She drew the Rock's Brahma Bull, and then we drew a giant red like Ghostbusters no through it. And people didn't like it in my section. Cena was getting booed heavily that night. I even got a few beer bottle caps thrown at me.
Wow.
A couple caps came down the aisle, but I was fucking flaunting those signs. Cena, our time is now. Been a Cena guy my whole life. Honestly, growing up, it was Shawn Michaels, Rey Mysterio, John Cena. Those are my guys. And until Money in the Bank 2011, that's when I started to crack a little bit because I was like, oh, fuck, I'm a Cena guy, but I don't think I'm rooting for him tonight. And I remember my cousin Kenny being like, what? He was like, we were Cena guys together. And he was like, but this guy's going to take the title and leave WWE. It's like, I know, but he's cool. It's tough.
That's what I was gonna say. I was like, judging by all your favorites growing up, I don't know why we get along. They're all in.
I know,
and Cody, like you love everyone that I hate.
I love the white meat baby face that's an underdog. Saves the day.
I like all the satanic, supernatural, evil people.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. But hey, that's why we're like Kane and fucking X-Pac over here.
Yeah.
Hopefully with a better ending.
Yeah, Tori, that Jezebel.
Yeah. Other than that, on Money in the Bank, I thought it was worth mentioning. I thought the women's Money in the Bank match might have been better than the men's.
Correct.
It was
great.
Was. And they were taking crazy bumps. The fucking Michinoku driver off the ladder onto the other ladder was insane. Chelsea Green became a superstar. And I think those in the know already knew, like, she's got it. She gets it. Like, she's really fucking good. But this match opened so many people's eyes to that. The bump she took at the end. I posted the overhead angle. I don't know if you saw, but the angle of her going through the tables on TV doesn't do justice to how she had to readjust midair. And like, for good reason. You don't want to see that on TV. That's like a very inner wrestling. She did a good job landing on the tables. But oh my God, she was like at a crooked angle. She still went through him flush. I likened it to Cody Rhodes at Money in the Bank 2013. He didn't win that match, but he left that match a superstar. And everyone in the building was like, oh my God, the spots he did were great. Chelsea Green is primed and ready for a title run. I wish she won the match, to be honest. Like, Tiff, I see it because the fans see it. But she's just not Chelsea Green for me.
Yeah. And Chelsea's also like put in the time. Whereas like Tiffany Stratton was the right pick, but they're trying to like hot shot the new
they're trying to strike while the iron's hot,
yeah,
which they didn't do in the past. That was what we complained about in the past of like they're waiting too long with people like Braun. They probably should have put the title on him like they did with Tiffy and the fucking Money in the Bank. But also how do you feel about the men's Money in the Bank? Just we're not going to have that be a thing for the next year. There's part of me that's bummed about it. There's part of me that's like, after Priest's long, Willie, won't he cash in reign? Maybe it's good that we have a year-long break with Money in the Bank.
It's opposite ends of the spectrum because like when you have that long ass like wait for like how many of those have we had where it's like they wait the whole goddamn year
Yeah.
and everyone's like making jokes about it. It's like is he still gonna have the briefcase by the time they have the next Money in the Bank match? But yeah, to go from like waiting a really long time to get the cash in to like, I mean, we've seen it before. People have won and cashed in the same night. Not the first time that's happened either. So
You had to
I'm not
bring that
gonna.
up, of course, Kane and Mysterio, yeah.
Yep. What did he win in like 8 seconds? Was that an 8-second match?
It was really quick. That was the first Money in the Bank pay-per-view, right? I think it was.
It might have been.
2010 or something like that.
Yeah.
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 I don't love the pay-per-view. Like I did for a few years because I was like, this is great. We're getting 2 Money in the Bank ladder matches, Raw and SmackDown. But looking back, like I think WrestleMania, kicking off WrestleMania with the Money in the Bank match is such a fucking cool tradition. I would almost like them to bring that back.
Then you're kind of honoring the legacy of Chris Jericho, are you not?
I guess a little bit, yeah. But even I think back to WrestleMania 31, it wasn't a Money in the Bank ladder match, but they kicked it off with like that 8-person IC title match where Ambrose is taking crazy power bombs through ladders. And
was that the Zack Ryder one?
That was 32, and that was also for the IC. And like, just kick off WrestleMania with a big ladder match clusterfuck, and I'm going to be happy. I think the fans are going to be happy every time. That's like you putting on a punk band to open up for, you know, another band. It's like, just get the crowd into it. Just get the crowd energized and ready for more wrestling.
Yeah.
I don't know. I hope they do away with a lot of the gimmick.
They completely abandoned the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, by the way.
They started doing it on like the SmackDown before or something.
Yeah. I don't know.
When they came out with that trophy, they put like 20 spots on it, 20 blank spots, and those are not going to get filled up.
No, they sure aren't. Yeah,
I hate
was
this.
It also didn't do anything for anybody. Like when Cesaro won it,
anything for anybody. It could have done something for Cesaro, but they turned him heel and had him destroy the title the next night.
Yeah.
On Raw, he came out and he had Heyman for a bit, and he had the eye patch, but it was just like he just became this huge star. We all wanted to cheer for him when he throws the Big Show over. That was all-time moment. Still, I'll go back and watch that for the crowd's reaction when he hits the uppercut. Big Show bounces off the ropes the final time. When he picks it up and everyone gets on their feet, that's like WrestleMania at its best right there. And then, Vince had the idea to turn him heel 24 hours later in front of the same crowd. Ugh. Bad. Anything else from Money in the Bank worth talking about, in your opinion? We got the IC match, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know how you felt about Braun Breaker not winning. I'm not. I've already told you I'm not
fine with it.
I'm not in on Braun Breaker yet. It's not to say that I won't be. I'm just not. I'm not there yet.
I was, and I argued that for him on this show against you. And the more time that goes by, the more I back away from that take a little bit. I think he's still got it, but you need smoke and mirrors to show that he's got it.
Yeah,
some of the Ricochet stuff was funny. It was like the Ricochet stuff reminded me of Braun at his peak when he's flipping fucking ambulances and doing shit like that. Like, but I don't know how much more he has. He's not a good promo, and that's tough.
He's not a good promo, and I think growing up in the 90s, my wrestling brain is conditioned to believe that if you're someone who comes up and has a long series of 60-second squash matches, all that says to me is you can't wrestle. Yeah. Like they want, like WWE wants to present it as like, here's someone that's so dominant that he just beats people in 60 seconds because he's so strong, so powerful. But the way that I interpret it as this guy can't wrestle, and they don't want to overexpose this person.
Do you think Bret Hart just watches people like this, or Rusev or Asuka, when they tried to redo the Goldberg streak, and he's just disgusted that anyone reminds him of Goldberg?
He, to this day, I mean, I always like that they just had that WCW documentary series come out. And it's just like, this guy wakes up every morning and just wipes his ass with a picture of Goldberg's face every day.
Dude, there was such a good tweet. It was from this guy Soundwave about the death of WCW doc. He's like, this is amazing. He's like, I'm watching this death of WCW doc, and it's a bunch of dudes in their 50s and 60s pointing the finger and saying, no, it was his fault. No, it's his fault. No, it's his fault. It's actually Russo's fault. It's actually Bischoff's fault. And then there's Bret Hart. And he's like, it was all fucking stupid. It was all of your faults. You're all the dumbest people that have ever lived. And Goldberg tried to murder me.
Yeah. And he means it.
He means every word of it. And I love the fact that someone will be like, hey, Bret, what did you eat for breakfast this morning? And he'll be like, an Eggs Benedict. And by the way, Goldberg doesn't know what he's fucking doing in the ring. He'll find any way to sleep. The conversation could not have anything to do with it. And Bret will find a way to fucking throw him under the bus.
He's become a parody of himself, which sucks because I do love Bret Hart. But he has become a parody of himself. He's just
it's a little endearing to me, though. It's like Harrison Ford is a curmudgeon at this point. You ask him about Star Wars, and he's like, I don't give a shit, kid. Like, that's almost how Bret Hart is about his wrestling career.
Yeah. Yeah, he's very angry. Speaking of tweets, funny tweets, I saw a tweet being like, wait, so Triple H announced that when WWE, like Raw, goes to Netflix, that it's all going to be uncensored. So, like, is Samantha Irvin going to announce Seth Rollins? Be like, Seth fucking Rollins. like what?
That'd be great.
Yeah. I mean, like, if you don't have to say freaking anymore, then is that what she's going to say?
It'd be cool if we had an uncensored, if you could pick a version, you know, if you want to show it to the kids, they'll still bleep the curses like they do now for Final Boss Rock. But like, it would be cool if we could pick a Final Boss Rock mode in here and be like, fuck Mama Rhodes, get the fuck out of my ring. Like, I want to hear all that shit.
Fuck your story.
Oh, by the way, that's another thing I guess worth bringing up. I didn't watch the Behind the WrestleMania documentary because you, my brother, everyone that told me about it, they didn't have good things to say about it. Everyone was kind of like, it felt like a waste of time. And I saw the clips on Twitter that I guess were the clips worth showing, talking about. I thought it was cool seeing Cody go through the curtain and, you know, hug everyone in Gorilla after WrestleMania. I love the Gorilla style clips like that, but yeah, weird that it took so long to come out and then seemingly disappointed everybody by being mostly clips we've already seen.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I mean, for anyone that hasn't seen it, I don't even feel bad about spoiling it because so my expectations for it we're going to see a lot of behind the scenes stuff from post WrestleMania. Like the night of WrestleMania and post WrestleMania. It's a 1-hour YouTube video where the first 48 minutes is just like a recap of the events leading up to WrestleMania. Like there's a lot of just like stuff that was already public and it's a recap. The behind the scenes stuff is like Cody had a dinner before WrestleMania. Was like, thanks everyone for coming.
Don't do the voice. That's not what he sounds like.
I really hope
that's not what he sounds like.
Thanks, Mom, for being here.
I don't know why he didn't invite me to that dinner, but that's not what he sounds like.
Because he's a bad guy. He's a bad guy, Bob. Yes, he is.
Not a bad guy. Not a bad guy.
Good guy. But like, if you just watch it as a neutral wrestling fan, you will see people like The Rock, Roman, Jay, like all these people being like, we just want to do what's best for the fans. And then Cody is like, well, I really hope I win. And this is really all like, I have to finish my story.
Slander. This is libel. This is defamation of character.
I have to finish my story. And I hope it's this year because it wasn't last year that they said I could finish my story.
That's not the takeaways people had about that documentary. The takeaway.
Finish my story. I really hope I finish
my story. He's the kid in the group project who's taking all the credit for everyone else's work. He came in at the last minute. He's like,
those memes are funny.
I called Triple H and I told them, I don't even want one fan disappointed at WrestleMania. So let's do what The Rock is saying is best. And he's taking the memes are very funny. He's like talking about it. And I told Triple H to go ask out Stephanie McMahon. And like people are like doing that for all history.
So that's when I told Hulk Hogan, you got to scoop Andre. Slam him.
There are rumors that some of it was reshot, which the rumors almost, I almost hope they're true because it makes for a more interesting story. But people are saying that it took so long for it to come out because they wanted to like reshoot scenes of The Rock being like, and I told them to do that because the original narrative was different in some way. But I don't know. That's probably bullshit. If I'm being honest, it's probably just Twitter like wanting that to be the narrative, but
Yeah.
I bought into it the same way you're like, oh, it'd be kind of interesting if Hollywood actually faked the moon landing.
Well, they did.
Oh, are you a Moonlander, one of those truthers? They're making a movie about it now that I heard is pretty good.
Yeah, I did see the trailer for that. I think it's there's reason to ask questions. Yeah.
Shout out our guy Liam Crowley, who was at the post presser. He was doing all the stuff for that movie. He interviewed.
Oh,
like,
was he
Scarlett
really?
Johansson and shit. Oh yeah, he interviewed Scarlett Johansson, Channing Tatum. Good guy, a good follow on Twitter and Instagram. Liam Crowley, not the one that works at Barstool. It's confusing if you work at Barstool and know both of them. But
I DM'd that Liam Crowley because when he asked a question at the John Cena press conference after Money in the Bank, and I was like, "Fuck yeah, dude, way to get in there!" And he was like, "I don't know what you're talking about," and I was like, "Ah, wrong, Liam Crowley, my bad."
it's fucked. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that was all I got from this episode of From the Top Rope. I assume we'll definitely be back after SummerSlam. I think there's going to be enough from SummerSlam itself where we'll have to do an emergency episode, hopefully. And hopefully Roman's back. It'd be nice if he returned at SummerSlam. It'd be cool.
It's about time because WWE has been super boring as Cody's champion. Cody's been the worst champ of all time. He hasn't had one memorable moment.
That's you don't believe the words coming out of your mouth right now because you know
I'll
WWE
say this right now,
fire.
Bob. My wrestling fan friend group chat has died since Cody became champion. Like it used to be every day, every night we're talking about something.
It's probably because they're like, oh, it's not even fun to talk to Jared about this anymore because he's being such a mope about Cody. They probably started another group chat without you in it.
No, they all hate Cody.
I'm
telling you right now. They're all just like, man, like
look into it. They got a different group chat.
It is noticeable how much less we all care now that Cody's champion. So I can't wait for
WWE has never been better. It's on fire.
You know what's going to be hilarious, Bob, is when Roman's probably going to squash Cody.
No,
like I feel like that's how he gets the title back is like
he probably can't even work his way back up to a title shot. If we're being honest, I don't think he'll ever have a title shot again.
See now you're just saying nonsense.
Now I'm just listen. You started throwing arrows at me. I got to start shooting some back.
I would never do that. I mean, I didn't fabricate anything that I just said. I mean, WWE has taken a huge step backwards. The Wyatt Sicks has saved. The Wyatt Sicks has been able to distract the audience from how boring Cody's title run has been so far.
That's
uninspired.
Defamation. No. Incorrect. But after SummerSlam, maybe we'll have a different take on the matter.
Yeah.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. Make sure you like the video wherever you're watching it or subscribe. We'll be back after SummerSlam, so make sure you come back and we'll see you next time.